goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a song.
I remember this one time, I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, the rhyme skills and true school flavor of the Philly attitude of our son, the voice of reason. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Hello, and I am your co-host, David Moore.
And this is
your next favorite band. I'm super excited, Phil. Tonight we're talking to our son,
with
MC, hip-hop star. It's going to be great.
Nerd.
Fellow
It's going to be an
nerd,
awesome one.
That's
what I mean.
I'm a professional nerd, I believe, is as I like to have on my business cards.
It is going to be a wide-ranging conversation in all the best ways possible.
Yeah, it should be fun.
But first, had an article that I came across that I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about. This here, I have it on the screen here. Controversial study shows that rats prefer jazz to classical music, when on drugs.
I think the part that I take away from that headline is the noun rats the valid part of that argument? Because you could probably put people in that sentence. I mean, I like classical. I actually am a big fan of small ensemble type pieces.
I mean, it doesn't say it hates classical. It just says prefers jazz.
Yeah, you're right. It does say prefer.
And then when on drugs. Doesn't say which drugs. Doesn't comment which study it is. But I came across this and I was like,
there's a lot of good questions that come with that, which is which drugs.
Right. And even the picture. So there's a picture of a I believe it's a mouse, not a rat, but holding a saxophone somehow. And then underneath it says rats prefer jazz to classical music. Picture Tinkle Gurky Pinterest. And so there's still, again, no reference to an article or a scientific study, but I just thought it was awesome that this was out there in the world.
And then we have the other side of the conversation, which is what kind of jazz and what kind of classical music were they making these rats listen to?
And what kind of drugs?
And, I mean, there's a lot. Was this peer-reviewed?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of... It probably actually was.
Triple-blind and double-sourced and all sorts of stuff.
I believe the study... I wouldn't actually doubt that the study was, but this is probably from some popular culture type media source that is just like, I don't know, I'm not going to read that thing. It's like 8 pages long with notes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, also, it's kind of like... And again, I'm a fan of classical music, but I'm pretty sure any drug I took would make me prefer jazz over classical.
Well, and I like jazz. I like jazz a lot, but
that's what I'm going.
It's just that it's. I mean, there are times.
Yeah. So more to follow on that as we try to find more legitimacy to that study. But I'm in.
I want to find out who did it because I want to find out if I know somebody who was associated with it.
Like, I want to meet the people, the scientists. I want to meet the rats.
I got questions about the funding.
I hope they listen to Medisky Martin.
Funded
Wood.
by Miles Davis's estate, right there. See, we found it. Why the whole thing falls apart.
Yes, it could be a little bit sketch, but anyway, like you said, let's get right to the interview tonight because we are super excited to have tonight's guest on. So he's part of another band that we have interviewed in the past.
Correct.
But he's produced some recent solo music that we thought was stunningly awesome. Yeah. And so we wanted to bring him on to talk about his own personal story. This is the song we have tonight for you is a song called Multitasking. But within that, the video here again, like you're going to enjoy it if you're listening on the podcast for audio. But the video brings in all of this Philly flavor that he is. I've heard him state all things Philly at all times. And so let's bring in some Our Son, the voice of reason, Multitasking.
Alexa Gold on the beat, Pharaoh on the bass, and the voice. Check it, yeah. I may never pop the top of the bottle off or spend time dropping opulent monologues. Any L I take is a lesson, not a loss. But I slay puppet masters like killing Marty Croft, freeing slaves at all cost, Harriet for hire, black Vangelis riding chariots of fire. Rappers swear they nice with their very rich attire, but anybody claiming that they're better is a liar. I spit vitamin verses for healthier bars. Negro League rap, Philadelphia stars. You think I'm in this to get wealthy, but no.
Our Son's voice of reason describes himself as an old dude with Philly attitude, rhyme skills, and true school flavor. Add in degrees in criminal justice and 40 years of comic book nerdery. A member of the group Gangstagrass, the world's greatest bluegrass hip-hop band with releases since the early 2000s. Delivering extraordinary wordplay and freestyle fire, Our Son, the voice of reason, releases started in 2017 with The Art of Words, and most recently 2023's 5 for 5.
We're going to bring this back in and let it flow.
No surrender, mental acumen of a million Mensa members, standing at the center of the room, sending censures to pretender for faking the funk. I condemn ya with that main source mannerism, Hulk strength mixed with Bruce Banner wisdom. I strategize and plan the mission so it don't end with a brother man imprisoned. I'm the future the elders say they can envision. In between the acts of violence and vandalism, every verse got a little of their phantoms in them, calling us out for somnambulism. So if you're the sleepwalking dead, letting the days go by like talking heads, going wild in the street like you off your meds, justifying the things that are often said, consider this the antithesis. Push the boulder up the hill. I'm not Sisyphus.
That's my favorite because I don't know how many people rhyme Sisyphus into some lyrics. So welcome to the show, Our Son, the voice of reason.
Yo, what's up, guys? How y'all doing, man?
Thanks so much for joining us today.
We're doing fantastic.
Word. Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. We are so honored to have you on. Tell us about this this video and this the lyrics that you're dropping here.
So the funny part is I shot the video. I was trying to get on the Tiny Desk contest.
Oh, sure.
I was like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Let me put something together for that. My man, a good friend of mine and of the band, Lawrence Arnell, who's also a Philly artist, producer. This guy makes beats. He's a photographer. He's also a cop. Like, this guy does everything. He shot the video for me right in my house. Like, this is right in my house.
Oh, I know. You're right. Yeah, I remember that from the Gangstagrass interview. That was in the background.
Yeah, that's my little like studio kind of office sort of thing. It's actually my dining room, but again, it's multitasking. Everything serves multiple purposes.
It was such a great, like you said, video. I love too that the flag up on the wall says green. It talks about the Eagles are for green, which is your last name.
Oh yeah. That makes it even better. It's all just the little things that help it work together.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of subtlety in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is a tight track. This is, the flow is really great. And then I'm all of a sudden distracted by the multitude of action figures in the background while I'm trying to figure out which versions I'm looking at.
Life, and yes, it's the jacket. I got the ring on. Like, it's the thing.
Yep.
The gun here. There's all sorts of stuff. But yeah, man.
Your logo. You have an Our Son logo that looks like the Superman thing.
Yeah, my buddy, a dear friend of mine, my buddy Len. We did a podcast together here in Philly called Black. And he's an artist and graphic designer, and he did that logo for me.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
So I got that on T-shirts and patches and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to sling some merch later because I'm gonna need to pick up some myself.
Yeah,
but so one thing we love to do on this show is to take it back, and would love to hear how it all started for you. And from what I understand, it was first grade on the bus.
First grade, man. That was when
Quincy.
I wrote my first rhyme. I wrote my first rhyme on the back of the school bus. Me and my man Quincy,
Master Q,
and and mind you, I'm 50 years old, so this was 1979. So of course, my name was Disco G at the time because why wouldn't it be, right?
I was gonna say it's right on point at that point in time.
Right.
Yeah. So I was, we did that. That was the first rhyme I ever wrote. I was just it was just sort of out in the ether, right? Like hip hop was brand new to the world and just sort of, kind of touching everybody's lives and whatnot. And I was, my brother really was getting me into a lot of the records and stuff, and was really the one that got me, into a lot of it, as far as listening. And, he got me into a lot of the, the Treacherous 3 and Sugar Hill Gang, and then Curtis Blow and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then my brother put me on the Run DMC, and after that, it was a wrap. I was like, all right, this is it's just life for me,
Right.
89, I was just talking about how in 89, right on my back steps, one of my buddies came down to the crib, and he put on he had a copy of 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul.
Awesome.
Nice.
And that was it. It changed my whole existence because, a lot of this around 89, everything was, a lot of real party stuff and whatnot. But it was a very dynamic shift between, like, De La was coming out, and then NWA was coming out. I had a buddy in high school that tried to put me on the NWA, and the first song he played for me was F the Police, and I was like, because my dad was a cop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I come from a family of police, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it didn't really hit me.
Sure.
De La Soul hit me.
Yeah.
That it changed my whole paradigm was based in that a lot of that De La Soul, and eventually Native Tongue, Tribe, Jungle Brothers, all that kind of stuff. Public Enemy, because it was not only was it saying something, right?
Right.
But it was extraordinarily lyrical, and you had to really listen to what was being said to get it all, and it was, and that for me was what made it really dope. Was, these guys were just, every time you listen to it, you picked up something new.
Yes.
So that's what got me. That's really what got me going.
Yeah, my brother introduced me to Public Enemy, and that was the take that I had. It was other than the production, which hit me right away, but you get the lyrical content, which was, there's just like, oh, this isn't just let's have a good time. They have a point of view. There's something they're saying, and there was also the tone that was happening between Chuck D and Flavor Flav, and it was just like there's so
much happening on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it's been weird, doing so many Gangstagrass shows all over the world. I've had a couple of people compare me to Chuck D, and I'm like, don't do that. No, I'm not ready for that.
Right.
Like,
I do think vocally where your voice sits, I get that, but I get your hesitation.
That's as much as I'll take. That's as much because that dude is like an icon in just music and in the culture, and I'm not ready for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's getting, if you're a guitar player, getting the words like Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no,
you
stop.
get like, oh, no.
No, stop. No. Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that I thought was interesting to take a moment to hear to talk about, like that the difference in Gangstagrass and whatever. Like, I remember you all talking about how outside of the United States, it's just music. It's just people get into it. But in the United States, it becomes this like kind of bifurcated conversation around should rap and bluegrass be together, and it's nonsense because it's great music and both sides are folk music.
Exactly. And that's been part of our goal, to really just sort of let people recognize that it's just dope. Like whatever it is dope. And
that is so perfect.
Hip hop cats have reacted well to it, and bluegrass cats have reacted well to it. And so in general, my goal has always been to just make good music. And, fortunately enough for me, everybody that I've been involved with making music with has been dope. You know what I mean? The two guys that got me, like I didn't really start making my own music till I went to Penn State.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm at Penn State doing my thing, whatever.
And that's where you become Our Son, right? The name starts there.
Yeah. That's where it came from. Yeah, that's where it came from. And it was all right. So when you talk about rap names, like nobody's rap name is ever perfect first. Never perfect first.
Disco G was pretty perfect.
Disco G was perfect in '79.
For
maybe
a first grader.
Yeah, for a first grader, it would have worked.
Actually, for a first grader, that's like a 10 out of a 10.
Exactly. I nailed it in first grade. So I was doing radio, and just kind of, I was making mixtapes all the time, and the Our Son part was easy. Sure. My father's name was Richard. Easy. Yep. Our Son, right?
Yep.
But I was like, let me see if I can make it a little different. So for a minute, and I've never actually recorded anything with this, using this. I was Our Son, the verbal pyrokinetic. Yeah, because I was spitting fire.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a bit much. It was a bit much.
It got workshopped. It got workshopped.
It definitely got workshopped. But I never recorded anything. And then, I'm just hanging out with a bunch of my guys one day. Now keep in mind, I don't drink. I've never been a drinker, never done any drugs, whatever. So I'm like the king designated driver. I was making sure cats were getting home all the time, that kind of thing, handling problems. We should throw parties, and I was doing security, that kind of stuff, whatever.
Sure.
And so we just talking outside of my man's crib one day. He was like, and my man was like, "What do you think, Rand? You're always the voice of reason." And I was like,
you heard
we all just kind of looked at each other like, "Oh, all right, cool." And so that's where the voice of reason was born. Shout out to my man Louis Logic, who was Louis Logic, and my man the one Shanti. They were the ones that really got me in it. And they were like, "Look, man, you're pretty good at this. Like, you should be doing this." So for like a hot second, we had a band together called Black Ops. Dropped a couple joints, a little bit of stuff, and Louis, he dropped a couple of amazing albums produced by our good friend JJ Brown, who produced all of my early stuff.
Is this all 5G productions?
Yeah, this is all 5G. Yeah. So the first album that I actually dropped, the EP that's on my website right now, The Art of Words, is the second one. There was one before that called Words of Art. Ooh, I flipped it. Right?
Nice.
And that was like, it was several burned CDs that I put labels on and sold out of my bag when walking the streets of State College.
Right.
We had a few of them in the store. I used to work at this CD and video rental store called Mike's Video. We sold a few out of there, that kind of thing. Nice. So that was the first joint. And then I had another homie, my man Ad Liberal. He and I had a crew together called the Flight Brothers. We dropped the album in 2003 called the Aaron and Wayne Review. It was just both of our middle names.
Right.
Had a couple of the tracks from my EP made it to that, and then we put that out. That was really dope. Again, the whole thing was 5G produced, and
Ad
Yeah,
Liberal is a great name too.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was just ad lib, but then there was another kid that was out at the same time named Ad Lib that we knew. So he was like, all right, I'm just gonna flip it ad liberal. And he's one of those guys that's got like 50 nicknames.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that's still my man. We put out this record 20 years ago. Oh my God, it's 20 years this year. Wow. Oh man. I'm aging myself. You guys are getting showing how old I am. But yeah, so we did that, and then I came back to Philly, still ready to do a whole lot, and then I got married and I had a kid, and I stopped doing music. I wasn't doing music for about 8 years.
Wow.
I was writing and just working. I had a kid. I had work to do.
Yeah,
so I'm doing work, and
but do you miss it? Like, I mean, obviously you do, but like, did it feel like a hole that was missing, or?
I didn't realize it was until I started doing it again.
Yeah.
I get that 100%.
And so, I did a couple shows here and there. Me and Adlib did a couple joints here and there. We still kind of hung out with a lot of our cats in music, that kind of thing, and sort of stayed involved, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't really doing a whole lot. I moved down to Delaware for a little bit. I was going to grad school down there. I got a job. I was working at this bar, working security at this bar, and there was a band that would play there every Sunday. And I got cool with those guys. They were like, "Yo, you wanna rhyme a little bit?" So I would get up and rhyme with them every now and again, just freestyle, whatever, just to keep myself sharp. Just to make sure I can still do it.
Yeah.
And then Dolio.
Yeah, Dolio the Sleuth.
Dolio the Sleuth.
He and I had met from Gangsta.
We had met at Penn State. He showed up there in '99. He was working in the area, and we met in a cypher outside of a bar one night. Just a bunch of dudes was outside rhyming, and I was like, "Yo, this boy kind of nice, right?"
Yep,
so we connected and stayed connected for a while. He was in and out of New York. That's where he met Wrench. He came down to Philly, met his wife. We connected a few times.
Is he from Philly? Because I know he's in Florida now.
He's from Pensacola, Florida, but he lives in Philly now because his wife's from
Got it. That's what it is. It's the reverse. Yeah. Yeah, and we should mention, for people who don't know, Wrench is the mastermind behind
Gangstagrass, and creator of Gangstagrass.
Yeah, so brought in the bluegrass artists, and then Dolio the MC, and then he brought in you. Yeah,
well, he wanted to go on tour, and he called Dolio because they were in a band together first.
Right.
And then Dolio couldn't go. So he reached out to me and was like, "Yo, my man's trying to do this thing. Let me send you one of his joints." He sent me like one song. I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this. This sounds like a lot of fun."
Right.
Because I had come up with a lot of country music. What I'm saying? My dad was he was a huge Kenny Rogers fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a huge Dolly Parton fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up with a lot of that, and so it wasn't foreign to me,
right?
You know what I mean?
Sure, right.
And so I was able to really ride with it. I'm like, all right, cool. So, and that's how I knew I missed it. That first show that we did the first show here in Philly on a Wednesday night, and as soon as I got on stage and the beat started, I started rhyming. I was like, that's what that is.
Yeah,
right.
That's what that hole is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hopped in the van with Wrench and the guys he had in the band at the time. We went down to North Carolina, did 3 shows that weekend. And after that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is, I need to be doing this again. And this was, I think this might be, I think our 12-year anniversary is coming up in like 2 days or something like that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So this was 12 years ago, and it was that I started doing that and the podcast in like the same week.
Wow.
Which is like the wildest thing in the world, to because I'm doing a podcast in Philly while I was still living in Delaware.
Right.
So I would come up every week to do that, and just the idea. And then if I couldn't come up, I would call in and just sort of chat with them. It was really weird because the cats from the podcast became my youngest son's godparents. Like that's how tight I am with those guys.
Sure.
And and so to encounter two amazing groups of people and build two groups of people at the same time,
right,
was just fantastic, man.
Yeah, I mean, the universe is clearly on your side at that point.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
At that point, certainly.
Sometimes the puzzle pieces just somehow get stuck together all by themselves.
Yeah. Well, let's definitely talk about this. So, obviously, you have this amazing talent as an MC, and you're this fantastic musician, but you're this incredible nerd as well, in the greatest sense possible. Where you do this, you are the super tribble, if I understand it right.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, like I said, man, I'm a Superman guy. I have been my whole life. I've been a comic reader.
For the sci-fi fans of color podcast, the Black Tribbles.
Yes, Black Tribbles. We dropped that, like I said, April 2011. And my guy Len, the guy that did my logo, he was doing a show before that. He was doing a hip hop show. And he played one of my songs, Word to Words, and we wound up just talking nerd stuff the whole night.
Sure.
And so after the show, he was like, I'm considering this thing. Would you want to be down?
Mm-hmm.
So we put the whole thing together, and Black Tribbles was born. And we did it for 10 years. It was fantastic. We had so many great guests on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got to interview DMC.
Nice.
We got to interview.
I have a picture here. Actually, I'm going to share this right now. This is the Black Tribbles, right?
Yeah, it's us. That's the original 5 Black Tribbles. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, and just it's just some of the best times that I ever had in my life with those guys. We did an interview with Estelle. A, because she's an amazing singer, and B, she was the voice of Garnet on the cartoon Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
And so that just sort of weaved her right into the whole nerdery and stuff. But man, she was fantastic stuff. And so, just doing all of that stuff together at the same time, and creating, putting together these two amazing groups of people was just some of the best stuff ever, man. And there was a lot going on through it, and I missed a lot of Black Tribble stuff because I was on the road. But like we did the Star Trek 50th anniversary celebration in New York. The whole team went except for me because I was on tour with Gangstagrass. But I was like, oh no, I can't do this awesome thing because I'm doing this awesome thing. So what do you do?
I can't do it because my band's on tour. Like that's the best, coolest excuse I think for those kind of things.
Exactly.
Right. And so, where does Amalgam Comics come in as far as a timeline thing?
So Amalgam Comics comes in 2015. We had interviewed the owner, R.L. Johnson,
right,
when she was about to open the store, and I was working at another store, and I left there. But I told her, I was like, look, if you need anything, let me know. I've been doing this for years.
Sure.
Let me know. And she called me, was like, do you want to come work for me? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
I worked for her until the store closed last October.
Mm-hmm.
Because COVID was a nightmare.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah. I mean, we should take a moment to just honor that. Like, she was the first black
woman on the East Coast to own her own comic book store. Yeah, open her own comic book.
And that's a huge deal. And
it was amazing, dude. It was such a great space, and we had such great times there. We had so many amazing writers and artists come through.
Sure.
John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, came through on during the DNC 1 year and signed copies of March. The book that he wrote telling his story.
Right.
It was just amazing stuff. Like after the day after we interviewed DMC on the phone, Len and I interviewed him. He came by the store the next day and signed a bunch of copies of his comic. Ta-Nehisi Coates came through the store. It was just, man, we had such great times there, and there were parties, and we had comedy there, and just it was absolutely fantastic.
I mean, we should talk about one other thing here is Invincible Iron Man #1 is a cover where they featured Ariel.
So funny story. That Tony Stark in the background.
Yeah,
they took a picture to map the whole thing out. That was me.
Oh,
so I was filling in for Tony Stark that day. So
well, you're like a spitting image of him.
Yeah. So I'm like, look, when if Marvel wants to start it back up and Robert Downey Jr. is not available, call me up.
And we get our son to do it.
I got you.
But I also there's a story behind it that it wouldn't have happened without you.
Well, all right. So Marvel, they have been doing a lot of those very cool, just different sort of variant covers for a while for different stores, and they wanted
because it supported a local store, like a store that had a local following.
Yeah, and they wanted to do several thousand copies. And I was like, "There's no way we could pay for that up front."
Right.
So I was able to work it out how many we got, and
I'm gonna bring it up again while you're chatting.
We were able to get a good amount in. We sold a bunch of them. People bought those things all over the world. We sent like 10 of them to a guy in Sweden.
Sure.
Like it was insane. But it was very, very cool to have people really excited about it like that for us. It worked out really well.
Yeah. So that's Ariel on the left in real life. That's her on the cover on the right. And this was when Kiki was going to become the Iron Man character, which was also a big where it was an African American woman who was going to take over that role, and that's a big deal too.
Yeah, she had. So the character had built her own Iron Man suit, and for 12 issues, she was the lead character in the Invincible Iron Man book. Then she got her own book. And she took the name Ironheart. She got her own armor and developed it all. But yeah, that was her initial run as as the main character. Very, very, very stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, the name of the comic book store. I have to reference this real quick because.
Go ahead.
So. Amalgam is a great word as a whole, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm throwing back to the late 90s. This is the short run publication that was done with DC and Marvel did like 1 year where they gave a crap about each other.
There he is. That man knows his stuff.
And they let the characters be. They even let the characters be like fused together. I'm really digging here, but I think there was a Batman Wolverine crossover. It was like Dark Claw or something like that. Like I could have gotten it really wrong, but I think my nerddom is paying off right here.
You got it completely right. It was the Dark Claw adventures. There was Super Soldier, Spider Boy was like the Superboy, Spider-Man cross, Doctor Strange Fate, JLX. It was interesting stuff. Like some of it was pretty good. Some of it was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
It spotted the
some of it was probably like you woke up the next morning as if it was like a hangover and you're like, what did we do?
Yeah.
Did we really do that? I guess we did.
So they had done a bunch of crossovers before. Like the first one in the 70s, there was a Superman Spider-Man one. It was a Hulk Batman one. There was a Justice League. X-Men Teen Titans. Sure. There was a Superman Fantastic Four one that came out. There was a Green Lantern Silver Surfer one. There was Batman Punisher, Batman Spider-Man, a bunch of different like one-shot sort of stuff, right?
Sure.
There was a JLA Avengers that was out. That was amazing. The thing they did together was DC versus Marvel, and the fans got to vote on who would win the fights. And then after that, the whole thing they did Amalgam Comics together was all their stuff together, and then they were done, and they haven't done anything like that since.
Right. Well, I mean, now that you have the power of Disney behind it, they're like, we have enough money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But before we leave the comic book realm, I did read a very cool take you had on Superman. Superman for me has always been a character that's like, all right, great, you have every power in the world. What's the big deal? Boring. But you had this amazing take that when I read it, I was like, I think I need to rethink this. And it was somewhat around, there's someone who has all the power and could do anything with it, and he chooses to be helpful. And I just I just think that was something I wanted to hear you kind of talk a little bit more.
Yeah, that's been my thing for a long time. Because there's all these these iterations of like evil Superman, right?
Sure.
The Brightburn movie came out, and there's the guy from The Boys, Homelander.
Sure,
and, all these different sort of iterations. You got Omni-Man from Invincible and that kind of thing. The idea of one day of realizing that if you wanted to, you could do anything in the world, anything you wanted to, right?
Yep.
And if you really decided to do it, nobody really could do anything about it. Nothing.
Sure. Right.
And that whole time you're like, no, I'm just gonna help people out. I'm just gonna be as helpful as I possibly can. Like that's amazing to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's always been my thing about Superman. The thing that fascinates me the most about a well-written Superman character is that he could be all of these terrible things that most of us are, but he chooses not to be. And that's the thing that's most interesting to me anyway.
Sure. Yeah, and I think too, like, what I found interesting is at that moment when you were sharing those thoughts, that was around the time of The Dark Knight and Spawn and Punisher and all these other darker takes on things. And it was a formative moment for you to be able to say, well, I'm going to choose this more positive take on things. And I just thought that was a cool thing.
Like I said, I've been a Superman guy. I was a very, very little kid. You know what I mean? Like that was the book I was reading the most. And then in '86, I was reading a lot, but in '86, there were two books that came out. It was Thor 337, which introduced Beta Ray Bill. Walt Simonson was taking over the book. And and then Crisis on Infinite Earths 2.
Okay, sure.
And the two of them, those were the first two comics I remember that I had to know what happened next.
Right.
So that's where I started collecting, and it was it was one of those things where I had to, and I just got in it, and I have collected every run of Thor since. And most I've had most of the Superman stuff. Some of it got destroyed. I had a flood 2 years ago, and some of my stuff got ruined. Yeah, but I've got tons of books, and for the most part, it's that's what's been really helped me up. And most of my action figures and Superman stuff, but I got a bunch of Thor stuff. I'm getting the character Beta Ray Bill has this golden hammer called Stormbreaker. The one from Avengers Infinity War. Completely different thing. Stormbreaker is actually a golden hammer axe sort of thing. I'm getting that tattooed on my arm. Like that's how much.
Sure.
That's how much I'm.
Yeah,
how much a nerd I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just means that much. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's so cool. I mean, and again, like, for those of you that may not have an appreciation for comic books, like I hope you hear in the tone of what being shared here is it's got a lot of depth to it. It's not.
It's not just it's not, and it's the other thing. It's not just superhero stuff. Like there are amazing comics for everybody. Any store I've ever worked at, I always tell people, I guarantee you, there's something in here for you.
Sure.
Whatever your taste is, Western, fantasy, sci-fi, horror. There's some great writers doing some fantastic work in the comics industry. There have been for decades, and one of my favorite things in the world is just selling comics to people. That's sure. Like I'm working on the comics are like my church.
Yeah,
and they're able to just sort of share all of that. Is that's my thing.
Well, it's just another way to tell a story, and I think that's the part that people need to understand, that it's just another medium. It's pictures and words together in a way that's created simultaneously. It's a really interesting take on how stories are presented.
Yeah,
exactly. I try. There's a lot of people that are try and be a little extra cool about it. That read them, but they're like, oh, I read graphic novels. I was like, what graphic novels are, right?
Right.
They're comic books.
They're comic books.
It's
comic,
just 5 comic books.
graphic
cooler
novel
name, yeah.
is a
Yeah.
comic book.
Right. That's totally true.
It's a
Yeah.
fancy
okay.
way to make you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a comic book.
Yeah.
Except in the
And
movie.
in that world too, it's like almost like the pictures. Some people think that makes it more, or say, less adult. Like, oh, it's for kids. But all we got is amazing artwork to continue to tell the story in an enhanced way.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Right. It just is crazy.
It's not. There's just like movies or novels or anything else. There is comic books that are for kids, and that's fine. But there's also ones that are hyper sophisticated that tell stories that are complicated about race or sex or representation, and they do it in ways that are equally challenging that any other medium does at that level.
Yep.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because, when I, just being a guy that sells comic books, people are like, well, that's what you have to be doing. No,
No.
I think that's what a lot of people need to understand.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and one of them too, like it continues, most people call it a graphic novel, but it is just a comic book of that, the Watchmen series of book, which then spins, has an amazing commentary on
there.
Right. For me, it's downstairs somewhere. But then talk about race, like the amazing HBO series of like that continuation of the Watchmen. Man. I mean, like, holy smokes, was that good?
That was amazing. It was fantastic. And there are a couple of things about it that I absolutely love beyond just the story itself. Regina King was amazing. She was
she's fantastic. But she can do most anything, and I'd be happy.
Yeah. She has nothing. She has nothing she can't do. I still say that. You remember the guy that was getting chased, and then he just squeezed like the oil on himself and just slid into the sewer?
Yeah.
That was. I saw him anywhere else. It was just that one scene. I was just like, wait, what? Like I watched it and I rewound it. And I'm like, did I miss something? What the hell? And that was it.
That was something got lost in editing continuity.
Nope. No. You eventually find out who that was, but it was so limitedly perfect. I was like, all right, cool.
That is so
I would read that dude's book. I would read a book about him all day long. All day long. I don't even remember his name, but just the fact that he just seized oil on himself and then slid into a sewer and was gone. Give me that all day. All day long.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, I hate to do it, but I would love to bring us back to music.
Of course.
If
I think
so. You join Gangsta, becomes a pairing, and you are sharing the lyrics and going, like we talked about before, kind of international, and you compete on America's Got Talent and all this. A song on the Justified soundtrack. That's the main theme song there. So like Gangstagrass has had a ton of success. So
it really has.
Yeah.
So with the a lot of that, so the Justified the theme song, Wrench and the cat that was with the band before me, the guy Tone, they put that together. Wrench had put out the and then the people they reached out to him. They created the song. It took off. They got nominated for an Emmy for it.
Yeah.
They've been doing. We're doing. It was a big help to sort of push the band forward. And we were have been doing our thing out on the road, and then we had heard from America's Got Talent a couple of different times.
Right.
We weren't sure it was them. We were like, is this really? Oh, not. But then when COVID hit, and all those we had all this stuff booked for 2020. We were booked a rock, bro. Like it was supposed to be next level. All that got shut down. Although in the midst of all of that, we were able to finish the album, No Time for Enemies, and put out, and we shot a video for a couple of the songs. The first one was for Freedom, and we had we were like, all right, we need to make up a lot of this, lost time and lost revenue. So, right,
of course,
when they reached out again, we were like, all right, sure, why not? So, they fly us out there. We do the audition, and that audition, that was the first time we had been on stage together since the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Right. So, we do that. Get a chance to meet Terry Crews and all that kind of stuff, which was very cool. He's a very cool guy.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a very cool guy. And then, they call us back to do the live show. We're out there for a week, just sort of preparing and all that sort of stuff, doing, the lots of rehearsals and, figuring out how the whole show is going to go. And we met all the people that we were on with that week. And that was actually really cool. Interestingly enough, a guy that was in our run of the show won the whole thing that year.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was a magician. Very cool guy. And we went into it knowing that no band has ever won that show.
Sure. Right.
In the 16 years at the time. But we were like, all right, you know what? We're going to give it our all and, hopefully get out to a lot more fans and that sort of thing. And, we did the live, we got it to the quarterfinals and we're able to go on live and like 10 million people watched it and all that, which was kind of cool. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And one of the things people kept asking us were you guys nervous? And personally, I wasn't, because we've been doing this together for 10 years at the time. So this is the same thing we do, just it's a room full of people. Cool. If there's a camera. All right, whatever.
Sure.
Sure.
The lighting,
but it was pretty cool though. It was a very cool experience. Michael Winslow was on the show with us.
Wow.
Which was like
all sorts of cool sound effects, I guess. I mean,
yeah, right. Mike,
the Police Academy guy, yeah.
Exactly. I was like, wait, why is he here? This dude's world famous. But it was, it was very cool. There was a very cool experience. And we stayed in this amazing house, by the way. The house we stayed in was awesome. But the whole thing was just
that's for another podcast.
Yeah, that's all for a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was very, very dope. Just a fantastic experience, and it definitely did help. There were a lot more people that were like, "Wait a minute, you guys! We saw you guys on America's Got Talent. You guys should have won." I was like, "You should have voted." But whatever.
You and all your friends.
Yeah, but no, it was very, very cool though. It was a great experience. We had a good time, learned a lot from it, and just doing that was.
Yep.
I'll never forget that. That was fantastic.
So cool. That is very, very cool. So I understand that you might be able to do some freestyle for us tonight.
I mean, I could probably put something together. You know what I'm saying? I do this all the time, and if people always ask me like if it's not too much or whatever, I'm like, listen, you'd be amazed at how much time I spend just rhyming to myself, just to stay sharp. I write and perform with Dolio the Sleuth, so I gotta stay sharp.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This guy, he's an amazing writer.
Yeah.
But it's it's a difficult thing to do, so I gotta stay sharp.
Okay.
But just sitting here, I might be like, I'm so sick with the rhymes that I might start to vomit. Chill with my man Phillip with his Marvel Comics t-shirts. We were right here on the podcast at last. I don't want to have a gun, so I don't want to blast. Matter of fact, I'm feeling bleak. I got no money and my ceiling leaks, but that's okay. But I'm feeling like a freak. Nah, I'm just joking. I'll be here all week. That's the comedy.
It's Derek, your man Arshon, the voice of reason, holding it down. Tuesday afternoon. Shout out to some of my guys, Phil and Dave. Check it out. Look, I walk the streets getting the lay of the land and then drop a verse for my next favorite band. Listening to the podcast, I go on with my bombast. Cut you off like Comcast. If you don't pay the bills on your cable, Recognize me, understand that the label is voice of reason, which means I make the most sense. Heavy on the microphone, which means I'm so dense. So bent. Nah, I'm kidding, I stay sober. Try to mess with Rand, game over. You want some of this, I got y'all. Even though the hat says so, I'm not a rock star and penniless. One of the most broken, thought-provoking stuff, and it ain't no joke, kid. But I just made you laugh. Dirty on the microphone, you need to take a bath. Get the math and then do the science. I rap all defiance like the starship off of Deep Space Nines. When he say rhymes, y'all be like, he must be way ahead of his time. Yes, he is. It's like I'm from the future. Rhyme bullets, but I don't want to shoot you. I don't commit crimes. All I do is drop rhymes. Giving one of y'all for my people, that's mine. Phil and Dave, what's up? Your man, our son, the voice of reason. Happy Superman Day. I got coffee on my nose. It's just like that. That's how live it is.
What I say, my phone is acting up. I have to send that away a little bit that said my stream's not running. But I have to come through the joint still gunning. I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band show. I mean, you know.
That was fantastic.
That was fantastic. Our theme song has just been updated.
That's
since,
right. We're totally
we
changing
got
the
name
open
dropped.
of the show.
That was great. Thank you.
Amazing.
Also,
Thank you. So thank you for that.
No doubt, man. No doubt, man.
So I wanted to, before we kind of wrap things up and have you kind of promote some stuff, I wanted to get your take on something. You talked about not being a slave in the rap.
Mm-hmm.
And you graduated from Penn State with a degree in criminal justice.
Yes.
And I just wanted to maybe, obviously our country is faced with a whole lot of nonsense right now. And I just wanted to maybe get your take on that. If it spins into the music industry too, happy to, have you kind of give your take on that as well. But on the whole, like, what's your take on what's going on and what could we all do to be better and to make it, a more inclusive space?
All right, so this is going to be a bit. So
yeah, please.
So I get my degree in administration of justice. I was a cop for a month. 1 month I was a cop in State College, Pennsylvania, and dealt with some stuff up there that was, looking back at it was obviously racial. Sure. And so I lost my job. This was my plan. I was going to do 5 years in State College and then go back to law school. 5 years in State College and then try and go federal.
Okay.
FBI, something like that. Go back to law school, get my law degree, practice law for a little bit, and then try and become a judge. So every now and again, I raise my glass of whatever I'm drinking to the Randall Green in another universe that did all of those things. And,
Sure.
He's living his life. He's doing his thing.
Right.
So I say all of that to say, coming from a family of cops, my dad and three of my uncles were cops here in Philadelphia. One of my cousins was actually a Secret Service agent. One of my other cousins was a school policeman here in Philadelphia. So, law enforcement it's in the green veins.
Yeah. Right.
I say all that to say, particularly, if you look at 2020 and how all of that went down, writing the song Freedom, my verse on the song Freedom, about it was like a civil rights era sort of story, and recognizing that, as much as American policing has done in the history of America to involve itself with African Americans and other people of color, it's also extraordinarily necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are bad people in the world.
Sure.
And there needs to be some organization of people whose job it is to protect the greater society from bad people.
Sure.
Right. And I felt like it was something I wanted to be a part of. If I were a younger man, I still would want to be a part of that because, most of us are just trying to live our lives, and
right.
there are people who making an effort to not to make sure we can't do that, right? And so there has to guard against that. And so, you have to be able to walk that line of how do you take care of people without oppressing people, right? So
crossing that line.
Yeah, without crossing that line, you know what I'm saying? And you really do have to be able to do that. And fortunately enough, I've encountered, I've had issues with cops in my time. I'm 6'4", 250. I have been for a very long time. I know it's going to happen. Sure. It is what it is. But at the same time, most of my encounters with police that he didn't even know I was the son of a cop have been, pretty cool. Going around on tour, I collect police patches.
Sure.
I have like 10 or 15 police patches that I'm going to put on my jackets. Just because, like, one of my jackets, I have a Harlan, Kentucky, which is where Gangstagrass, the show Gangstagrass was supposed to take place. Sure. They gave us patches. So I have a Harlan PD patch on one side and a Black Panther Party patch on the other. Right. And so,
right.
You have to recognize that there is a need for all of it.
Sure. Right. Yes.
Until such time as humans evolve to the point where there isn't.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
we can all hope.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so you just sort of have to, really understand that in all of this, there needs to be all of it, there needs to be good cops, right? In cities where they're in places where there are large, people of color populations, there need to be good cops that are people of color.
Yeah.
That can, are a part of the community and know how to, respond to the community and the community's needs, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And can teach anybody else that's coming into it, like, look, this is how we need to be. These are the things that we're dealing with, so on and so forth. And at the same time, I've been saying this for years that, particularly, as an African American, like, at least 50% of the problems that exist within our communities are the results of, institutional and structural racism that's existed through the centuries.
Yep.
But at least 50% of the problems are things that we can handle on our own. Sure. Like, it's stuff that, we need to be taken care of on our own for ourselves, such that, the weight of everything else isn't as heavy.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And so
I think what I've learned as I've listened to people like yourself and others, the systemic issue, though, is so heavy. It's such a burden that sometimes people feel like, what's the point? And it's like, I would totally understand that. Like, I totally get that. And I hope there's stuff that everyone can do, including myself, to try and be a part of that, because it's going to take everybody to try and
without question. And what I say to people is, just be as real with each other as you can, right? And if something doesn't make sense to you, as far as how people live their lives or whatever, just ask somebody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And some of it's gonna get, you're gonna get a harsh response and whatever, but it's the only way you're gonna learn anything.
Yeah.
It's the only way any of us are gonna learn anything.
And to be open-minded. Like, I think there's too much, like, I'm already convinced about what I think is the right thing. So even though I ask somebody, it's more to try and convince them that I'm right versus to actually understand. And so I think that's the other part too, is to approach those questions and those moments with humility and grace, and allow yourself to maybe hear something for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of it is very new. A lot of it's going to be very new to you. Sure. But, just, all in, learn from it. And from there, then you got to really learn how to build.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you so much. Like that's something that, again, I just always want to take a moment to kind of put out there, especially for someone as you have the degree in that, and obviously are able to kind of share a personal experience there. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No doubt, not a problem at all.
Yeah. And then one last thing I wanted to share. Sometimes we have something on the show that we always. We say wish casting. We put things out there in the world where we're just like, I really hope this happens. And it's rare that we get the chance to to wish cast something with one part of it. So I don't know if you know to use one of your phrases, the cat out of Cincinnati, Ohio. His name is Freak Bass. He's a very, very cool funk bass, kind of like freestyling.
I've heard the name. Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
So one of the elements to him is not only is he a killer bassist, but he is a massive DC nerd, and I think the two of you should do a track together about DC comics. Like I think it would be
this amazing. I will look into him as soon as we're done. As a matter of fact,
it would be. I really think you're gonna like it because he is straight out of the '70s, like P-Funk type style, and his whole thing is. I think it's every Thursday night on Twitch, on his Twitch channel. He'll do a total freestyle thing where it's just. He just plays, and we'll take prompts from his followers and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's a super fun thing. So, like, he freestyles bass, you freestyle lyrics. You put that together, and you guys.
I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that out tonight.
That's amazing. So here we go. So we're gonna wish cast that our son, the voice of reason, and Freak Bass do a song together.
All right. Yeah, I got no problem with that. No problem at all.
And maybe it's not about DC Comics. It might just be simply about.
Whatever you want.
Superhero-dom or whatever,
yeah.
But I think you guys would make...
Yeah, that's the great part about it. As a matter of fact, see, the hard part is our fiddle player in Gangstagrass is actually a bass player too. He played the bass on Multitasking.
Oh, cool. How cool.
Yeah, that's him and my friend Alexa Gold. Yeah, B. Farrell did the bass on that. And my friend Alexa Gold, she made that beat. And she's outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
She is absolutely amazing. And I've been, just rocking out to her beats for years. I love her to death.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Well, what can we promote here for you here at the close? I have your BoomBap Therapy website. You want me to bring that up?
BoomBapTherapy.com. That's got all of my music on it. There's links to some of the merch I got left. I'm actually going to create some, slowly putting together some new merch soon. I'm doing a show in Philly May 22nd.
Oh, wow.
Dolio and I are opening up for a phenomenal Baltimore-based MC called Substantial. He's an amazing artist, one of my favorite MCs. Sure. So we're gonna do a show, open it up for him on May 22nd here in Philly. And then other than that, man, just Gangstagrass is about to hit the road. We'll be in Colorado April 22nd. We'll be in Staten Island April 29th. And then we got a bunch of stuff coming up in May. All of that is available on the gangstagrass.com website. Just hit the events page for all.
Yeah, we'll link to all this in the show notes and in some of the posts that we put out there for sure, so that people can make sure they check it. But we should definitely spend a moment here. This one picture here for 1-2 Punch. You recently posted this on Instagram because this is from you.
Oh God, that is 80. No, that's 90, 97, I think.
And
25 years, right? 26 years.
Your post talked about like the things you would have told this person, and even you, the person who took the picture, you've lost touch with them. So I thought maybe we could put it out there, and maybe someone would know the person and how to get you guys back in touch.
I haven't talked to Sandy in forever.
So it's Sandy.
Yeah, my friend Sandy. I can't remember her last name. That's how terrible I am. But she was an amazing photographer. She's one of just one of my, one of many people that I went to Penn State with that were just fantastic people. She's a great photographer.
Sure.
And just very, very cool. And I hope she's out there doing well. I thought we had linked up somewhere online a few years ago, but I don't know if that was her. I don't even remember. But yeah.
Right. Well, Sandy, if you're out there, let's get you in touch with our son. And
Sandy, I miss you, baby. That's my homie.
And we could take a fresh picture of that image.
Man, I would love to go. I haven't been up to State College in so long. I need to go up there. My kid's grandmother lives up there, so I need to head up that way. But yeah, I need to get back up there. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna close out the show here, and at the end, we're gonna play the track that you have for. Is it "Get It All Out"?
Yeah, let's get it all out. Shout out to Melody Yvonne. She's one of our photographers, a good friend of ours in Indianapolis. She put that video together.
That's so cool.
That was just a bunch of her driving, and she put a bunch of stuff together, and yeah, it was very, very cool. She just did that for me, so yeah, that was great. I love that. I love that video.
Awesome. Well, our son, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a wonderful time we spent.
It was a great conversation. Thank you so
much.
No
doubt, man. Thank you guys for having me. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I really, really appreciate having you.
Take care, and I definitely hope we get to check you out this summer, and definitely hope you like Freak Bass's stuff, and we can get a track.
Yeah, that's the next move.
Awesome. Terrific. All right. Thanks, our son.
Thanks, guys.
David?
Phillip.
Our
what a
son,
great conversation.
Right?
That was great.
I mean, we covered...
It was great to touch on, in and out of his personal history, his fandom of comics, his deep dives into, like, somebody's going to have to, like, I mean, he's referencing issue numbers. He pulled it all out for us tonight.
Absolutely. So, and then even, again, social justice, criminal justice.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to get to that as I was trying to make a lighthearted joke about that as we went to the other end of the equation, which is, talking about the real world in a way that is real, and like it's really based. It's really touched on both personal experiences, education, everything like that. So great conversation. So glad that happened. His new release, 5 for 5.
Oh yeah, actually,
absolutely check it out.
We didn't even actually specifically touch on that, but that album
I mentioned it at the beginning. It's great.
It is. It's phenomenal. And one of his tracks, The Dozens, made it to our best your next favorite song 2023.
Yeah.
But all of the tracks are amazing. You should definitely check them out.
Totally.
All right, Phil. Let's say goodbye to everybody.
Enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band, we'd like to sincerely thank our son, the voice of reason, for sharing all of his amazing stories from way back as Disco G in the back of the school bus, dropping rhymes and rhythms in first grade, all the way up until Gangstagrass and international travel and everything in between, including, obviously, tons of times there with the nerd in the best way possible, being a member of the Black Tribbles podcast, which everyone should check out, as well as the Amalgam Comics and everything he had involved there. We'll include all sorts of links to all of that in the show notes, and be sure to check all that out. It's definitely a treat for you to be able to get to know more about that. As always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you already knew our son, the voice of reason, and or Gangstagrass, thank you so much for tuning in. We kind of hope that you will like, subscribe, and follow so that we can bring you your next favorite band in a future episode. If you have an idea on who you think our next favorite band should be, definitely let us know. Hit us up either by the email or the DMs on the socials. A lot of great stuff coming up here throughout April, May, and into June and July. And we hope we can catch a live show soon. It's all over now.
What up? Come on. Back in the building, back in the booth. Philly, this for you. The voice of reason. Delaware, this for you. 2000 and now. Hip hop, this is for you. For forever. True school, gotta get it out. Come on. My grind is no different than anybody else's. Saying that it is just seems rather selfish. Though I've been luckier than some, I can't help it. Faced some hard times some of y'all couldn't have dealt with. Even when my dreams got smashed in the rubble, I strapped on my helmet, got back in the huddle. Tell all my people people if there have been some troubles. When the sun don't shine, don't splash in the puddles. We all have to hustle, we're all trying to muddle through. Everybody's on mission to stack more W's. Even though I know I'm gonna take a few L's, I give it all I got and I strive to do well. Won't catch me pretend to stay true to myself. And I'm not too proud to say that I could use help, and I'm the first to give it back. If you need it, come see me. Nobody ever said life's supposed to be easy. Some days, sometimes when things get hectic, you got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Day to day, hour to hour, second to second, I gotta get it all out and put it on a record. Some days, sometimes things get hectic, got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Day to day, hour to hour, second to second, I gotta get it all out. Track star Edwin Moses, jumping over hurdles and jumping through hoops, but I'm trying to break the circle. All day, work till my hands ache. One for the fam, two for my friends, three to build the fan base. Some days I can't wait for the one that comes after. You only get so many, and each one matters. So hoping that some go faster is like taking your book of life and skipping some chapters. Every tragedy and every disaster means just as much as the cheers and the laughter. Everyone's on the hunt to find greener pastures. We all got highs and lows we need to master. Trying to reach the rafters, keep my fist raised. Even when I'm feeling dismissed or dismayed, every rhyme is a glimpse of my soul on display. So I won't change a thing to get play or get paid. Some days, sometimes when things get hectic, you got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Day to day, hour to hour, second to second, I gotta get it all out and put it on the record. Some days, sometimes things get hectic, got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Days, hours, seconds to seconds, I gotta get it all out. See, I give you all I got, take from it what you will. Keep a rhyme book filled, it's steady built to spill. Quick-sided, feel like I tilt at windmills. But when it comes to skills, I'm sure I fit the bill. It's deep, get your gills, your fins and your flippers. Hip-hop heroics for the hoods and the hipsters. High-tech digital, giving the clearest picture. Throwback to Kodak, it's in your hands quicker. Giving you a mixture of the classic and state of the art. Off the head and straight from the heart. Even if I don't find a place on the charts, I'm a stick in your soul, so I'm making my mark. Bring it home, analyze it, take it apart. From my page comes a spark, illuminate in the dark. My pen keeps it moving like a great white shark. Staying on my indie mission like I'm raiding for an ark. Some days, sometimes when things get hectic, you got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Day to day, hour to hour, second to second, I gotta get it all out and put it on a record. Days and times, things get hectic, got to stay focused, expect the unexpected. Day to day, hour to hour, second to second, I gotta get it all out, 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 I gotta get it all out. It's all out, it's all out, I gotta get it all out, I got it all out, and now it's gone. You got it.